What would drive a perfectly sane person into a life of servitude? Voluntarily. And then, on top of that, turn them into a pet. Well, that's what we're going to be discussing today on part 4 of our series on BDSM. This is what I call, Here Kitty Kitty. In today's society, it is a common thing to hear of an individual being trapped in the wrong body. But who would have guessed that that would also include a human actually believing they should have been born an animal? Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Toward Intentions. I'm your host, Austin Fox. In this week's episode, I'm going to cover pet play. So what is pet play and who are its participants? Well, let's start with the shorter of the two lists. What pet play is not. Pet play is not cosplay, does not have anything to do with a fursona, and furries and therians are completely separate. Therians are those individuals who truly believe that they should have been born an animal. Pet players know that they are human, and even though they may have a strong connection to their animal, they realize that every scene has an ending at some point. Well, in pet space, a pet will then take on the traits and characteristics of their animal. So what is pet space exactly? It is a form of meditation where the brain can just turn off from the mundane laundry for your husband, dinner for the children, and oh dear God, I think I forgot to fire that one bitch this afternoon. Well, it is a place that allows you to do a 180 and relinquish total control to someone else and have them pamper you. And why not? Everybody deserves to be special once in a while. And who knows, maybe this recharge the brain and body is receiving, the individual will come back better than you. Now, just like any other DS relationship, this one is no different. The Dom is commonly known as master, owner, handler, trainer, or key holder. The pet should not get hung up on what to call their Dom because the Dom will always let the pet know what the proper title is when addressing them. Then, in the event of a one Dom, two multiple pet dynamic, there is still a chain of command, even amongst the pets. There will always be an alpha and then the sub-pet, and that is usually whoever has been with the master the longest. That would be the alpha. But again, not set in stone. The Dom will discuss their options to them and let them choose amongst themselves. So now that we know the Dom can have at least two pets or more, is it possible for a sub or a pet to serve two or more Doms? Now we know that a Dom can have two pets or more, but is it possible for a sub to serve two or more Doms? The answer would be yes. Now this would need to be the decision of the primary Dom and amongst his pet. The reason for this contingency plan is in the event something should happen to the primary, such as moving away, breaking up, or death, this reduces the feeling of abandonment and prevents the pet from being labeled a stray, and the pet would then become property of the secondary automatically. Some Doms like this because it would minimize any confusion in an already confusing moment. As far as gear, most commonly a pet would have ears, tails, and the popular collar. The collar is essential for pet play, not only because it lets others know in the community that you are a sub, it also lets others know that you are the property of someone else. There are also different types of collars and what they symbolize. There's a collar consideration, and this would normally be something like a rope easily on and off. This is to test the waters, or what I call the testing waters phase of the relationship, where negotiations are made and the pet still has a say in what is expected of themselves and expectations of their Dom. Next is a trading collar. This would be worn during events and scenes, but taken back when done. And some good training tools are having a leash, being leash trained for walks, eating on the ground, eating table scraps, restricting their mobilization and use of their hands by wearing mittens or mitts to mimic paws, tying the arms and legs to themselves to get the pet on all fours, also restricting furniture use for those who like, and also restrict some furniture use. And for those of you who like water sports, potty training. And there's the formal collar. This one needs to be discussed as to what kind of collar suits the pet the best, because normally the formal collar comes with the lock and must be worn 24/7. But if discretion is needed, then a more subtle style would be allowed, such as a necklace, a bracelet, a ring, a wristband, a tattoo, or even branding. Now, the collar may symbolize different things for different people. Ultimately, it is just showing your love and devotion to each other. While the lock symbolizes a real commitment to the Dom, pets need to remember to be patient because it takes a lot of effort and energy for the Dom to be on 100% of the time. But on the flip side of that, the Dom must be aware of the level of attention the pet is needing and requires. On a personal note, consideration to emotions and feelings must be taken into account for the Dom and pet both. I cannot stress this enough because not only does the pet now have the feeling of security and protection, but the Dom now has a very real and very strong emotional attachment to their pet. And in the event the relationship has run its course or the two just simply break up, the collar should be given back to the Dom so that way the new one will not be offended. Well, that's going to wrap it up this week. Be sure to subscribe at www.torridintentions.com for updates on the show. And you can always follow me on Twitter at torridintention. And as always, feel free to email me at www.torridintention@gmail.com. And I will leave you with this final thought. The power of submission can be found only in the heart of the one that gives it to their love, to the other, freely, knowing that joy and pain will stem from it. So, whatever your intention, just make sure it's a torrid intention. So long, everybody.